All right, welcome to Lab 1. Let's go through it. I guess just the same as last time, right? You're going to run that gimme command to get the starter code. And so once you cd into that new directory that the gimme command creates, you will see these two files. So let's go through both of them. Finally, there's stuff in each of them, so you're welcome for that. I guess the first part of the lab that I want you to do is the random average.cpp. So that's this program. So let's go on and look at it. Look, some things have actually been written for once. So here's some code, and it's going to involve some library calls. This one's about randomness, so go and look at the cstdlib documentation, because that's where the rand function and srand live, and definitely go back to the examples from class. But what I want you to do for this part of the lab is to generate 5 random numbers between 1 and 100 inclusive. So 1 is a possibility and 100 is a possibility. And then I want you to print them out, right? So 5 random numbers, it should be different every time. Print them out on their own line, and then you need to output the average of all of those random numbers that you just printed out, okay? So you'll have to save onto them for sure in some variables. That's my hint. So yeah, just 5 random numbers. The output should look exactly like this, otherwise the autograder will complain. But every time you run it, it's going to output 5 random numbers and also their average. The average should be rounded to the nearest 2 decimal places, all right? Rounded to 2 decimal places, and I tried and say this here as well. So it's like, all right, you're just going to fill in these fix-me's essentially. It's like that's your part to go and work and start writing code underneath these comments. Okay, so like generate 5 random numbers, do that, and then here's that line already done for you. Then output the numbers and print their average on a line that's pretty. Okay, so it looks like that. You'll be using set precision, fixed and set precision, right, to do that kind of rounding. Even though it's always, you're dividing by 5, right, dividing integers by 5, it's always only going to need the tens place, but we're going to throw in the hundredths place for fun, even though it's always going to be 0. All right, so 2 decimal places. That's your rule. That's your requirement. Okay, so kind of here's what it should look like. The autograder will complain if you miss a space or something, though. Try to get it as close to this as possible before turning it in. And yeah, I think that's all that I want to say. Remember that it's random, so it should look different every time. Like it's very, very unlikely that you'll see exactly these cases, right? But run it a few times, and then like break out a calculator and make sure that it's doing the average correctly. All right, so compile in the normal way, and you'll just run it and check it. All right, so that's the first part of the lab. So that's the random average program. And the other one, this one's called salestax.cpp. That one's a little bit harder, and so it's worth doing the random one first to like get you up to speed. All right. So this one, a little bit longer of starter code, a lot more comments. All right. I'm trying to do my best here to help you. But what I want you to do for this program is pretend like you're writing like the program that would run in like a checkout stand to calculate tax of something that you've bought. All right. So I want you to write a sales tax calculator. And the catch is, let's pretend that we live in a world without pennies or nickels. Let's say that we got rid of all of those, pennies and nickels, so we can only have multiples of 10 cents, all right? So we're going to have to round, not to the nearest whole number, but to the nearest dime, all right? So what you're going to do is you're going to get an input price from the user. It's like the total that they want to spend today, and then you're going to calculate 7.75% sales tax on that price. And you're going to round it, though, to the nearest dime, because remember, we're pretending we live in a world without pennies or nickels, all right? So it's not rounded to the nearest whole number, it's rounded to the nearest multiple of 10 cents, of 0.1, all right? So that's going to take some thought, all right? There's ways to do it. The round function, remember, that's going to get you most of the way there. This function, remember, it's going to round to the nearest whole number, but there's a way to get it to round to the nearest tenth. All right, so think about that. I do have a little hint for you at the bottom here, if you want to go there. But let me do my best to explain the rest. But yeah, CMath is where the round function lives. And so like this is what's going to happen. You're going to output this prompt. The user's going to enter a price, and then your job is to calculate 7.75% sales tax of that price, and like it's apparently 90 cents when you round it to the nearest tenth. So here, let's do math together. So remember how to calculate percentages, right? So if the input price is $12.20, 7.75% of $12.20 is when you multiply it by 0.0775. Right? It's like 7.75 over 100. That's your percentage. And so that is the answer Okay, that's the normal answer, and it's not going to be rounded to the nearest cent, it's going to be rounded to the nearest dime. All right, so because it's like 0.94 something, you're going to round it down to 0.90. All right, so it's rounded to the nearest dime, so it's closer to 90 cents than a dollar. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's how you calculate your percentage, and then you're going to have to figure out how to do the rounding, and then you'll just like make a pretty output with some dollar signs, some spaces, and like a few lines and things, and like you'll add that to the original price that you saved in a variable, and then output it. Okay, so yeah, that's what you're going to do. You're going to output the total price as well after you calculate the tax, and you're just going to make it look pretty. All right, so for example, here's some other examples here. Like if the price was $47.30, then you'll calculate 7.75% sales tax of that, and that's apparently $3.66 something cents, and so that's up, right? You'll round up to $3.70. It's closer to that one, right? So that's going to be your tax. Does that make sense? And then you'll add it to that one, and so you can do this. I think you can imagine what's going to happen for this one as well, right? Same thing's going on there. And that's pretty much it. You'll just have to watch out for the formatting after you get the trick, right, of doing the rounding properly. Just going to be like, you'll print out the price with 2 decimal places always, even though it ends in zeros a lot. And then remember the dollar sign. This line has exactly 10 equal signs on it, and then you'll like have 2 spaces to space over and keep it all aligned. But I think that's it. So yeah, you'll compile it as usual, and then when you run it, the user is going to be asked for the price. Did I do that for you? Yes. So here I am. I'm getting the price in a price variable, and it's your job to just like do the rounding. All right. So calculate the tax, round it to the nearest dime, and then once you have that, output the pretty answer as well as the total. Okay. So I think that's what I wanted to say. Let's see here. Yeah, so I did give you a hint down here. If you're stuck, here's a nice hint for rounding to the nearest tenth. Just read all of this. All right, there's a secret, and it's going to involve this round function. Okay, come to office hours if you want more hints. But I think that's your second half. It's a little bit harder than the first half, but I believe in you. All right, yell at me if you have any questions. But I think that's what I wanted to say. So yeah, those are the 2 things, the 2 programs that you're going to write for this lab. And so to turn them in, you'll use the turn in command with lab 01 now at CSCI 40, and then you'll space separate all the files that you want to turn in, which is just those 2, right? You're not making any of your own files this time. So just the 2 that I gave you, you will fix them up nicely and turn them in and get a grade. All right, they're both worth the same amount, and yeah, there's a hint for you. And I think that is all that I want to say for Lab 1. Yeah, so just pay attention to the due date, start early, and ask lots of questions. So yeah, I think that's everything. I'll see you in the next video.